Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel Daysi DIY. Today I'm sharing with you guys an easy home decor. I hope you enjoy. If you do, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. Thank you so much. For the first project, we're going to need one sign from the Dollar Tree, and here's the item number just in case if you guys need it. So the first thing, I was going to remove the image, but I want to show you something different just in case if you guys have really hard time to remove the image. I'm going to be using the Restylane chalk paint on colored white. I did one coat and I just let it dry. I always love to do this technique to distress my sign. I just use a little bit of paint. The next thing, I'm going to be using the Craftwise chalkboard paint, and I'm going to do one coat and I'm just going to let it dry. Also, I decided to paint the edges so it has a finished look. So I just want to show you how beautiful it turns out even if you cannot remove the image. So the next thing, we're going to create lines, and we're just going to guide from the lines that it has the sign. I just marked my lines twice so they can be a little bit dark, and I just tried to use my finger to distress the lines a little bit. So once I'm done, I'm going to be using the same brush to distress the sign a little bit. So my brush, it just has a little bit of paint. You always can distress the sign at the way that you guys want it. So the next thing, I'm going to be using these words that I found on Google, and with my pencil I'm going to be tracing on the back so we can use it as a template to create these beautiful letters in our sign. So I just use my pen to mark the letters. I don't know if you can see, but it just shows the letters a little bit. So once I'm done, I decide to use the chalkboard paint, but if you guys don't have the paint, you guys can use a Sharpie and it will work just fine. So I just used this small brush to paint my letters. It did take me a little bit of time, but in the end it turned out really beautiful. I'm going to be using one craft stick that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm using the large one, and I just cut 3 pieces and I measured 3.5 centimeters. So to paint it, I'm using the chalkboard paint, and I just did one coat. I don't know what happened with my image, but I just covered a little bit of the edges with a small piece of painter's tape because I want to create this small tags. So the next thing, I'm going to be using these stickers, and I'm just going to be using the numbers 1, 2, and 3. And to paint it, I'm using the Restylane chalk paint on colored white, and I did one coat and I just let it dry. The next thing, I'm going to be using 3 small seed pots that I got from Dollar Tree as well, and to paint it, I'm using the Restylane chalk paint, and I did one coat and I just let it dry. I didn't paint it all the way because I want the color to show a little bit. So once I was done, my small tag, I didn't like it the color that it has on the edges. So to fix that, I'm using the Waverly anti-wax, and I just did one coat and I just used a piece of paper towel to remove a little bit of the paint. I think it was the paint that it was missing these beautiful tags. And once I'm done, I'm just gonna let it dry. The next thing, I'm gonna be using this Mod Podge to put the numbers, and I just did one coat and I just placed them, and once I was done, I decided to do another coat on Mod Podge to seal everything. So once the letters they're completely dry, I decided to use a small piece of this sandpaper to distress it a little bit. The next thing, I'm using 3 thumb tags to put them on the small pots so we can just place it on the sign. If you guys want, you guys can just use hot glue and glue it, but I decided to use these thumb tags. It was really easy to put them in the sign. I just placed it this way so you guys can see in the back it shows a little bit the Sharpie part on the thumb tags, and I just used a little bit of hot glue and also to reinforce it a little bit better. So once I was done, I decided to place the 3 beautiful tags, and I just use a little bit of hot glue to glue it. If you guys want a strong hold, you guys can use it 6000. And to hang our sign, we can use the same piece of jute twine, and you guys can just place it, and I think it looks beautiful. But I decided to use this plant hanger that I got from Dollar Tree, and I just cut a small piece to put it, and I just used my pliers to tie it very well, this part. And this is how it looks our project once we're done. And to put inside, you guys can put anything. I just used a few pieces of the greenery that I have on hand, and I think it turned out really beautiful, this project. I love it. All the projects I create today, this project is my favorite, and I'm gonna show you in a minute the other project that it was my favorite. Please let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this project? Today, I'm taking part of the Farmhouse High-End for Cheap collab that is being hosted by the amazing Jenny and Diane from Deco DIY, and her co-host for this month is Kiki from Kiki DIY'S and Jamie from SimpleRoots, SimpleLiving, and myself. I hope you enjoy and stay tuned to watch all the playlists. Thank you so much. For the next project, I'm going to be using one free printable that I found on Google, and also I'm going to be using this beautiful wood tray that I got from Dollar Tree. And to paint it, I'm using the Waverly anti-wax. I did one coat and I just let it dry. And to paint it, I'm just using a small piece of Podge. Also, I decided to paint inside of the wood tray, and to paint the edges, I just used this small brush that I got from Dollar Tree. So the next thing, I just placed my wood tray on the top to trace it at the side that I needed. I just used my pen to mark it, and once I was done, I just used my scissors to cut the image. So I just placed my image inside, and I just traced it a little bit because it was a little bit bigger. So I just used my scissor once again to cut it. My friend Dorothy, she mentioned to me how to put the Mod Podge so it won't have many wrinkles. I'm gonna try in the next video, because this video I recorded before she left that beautiful comment to me, and I will let you guys know how it works for me. So I just did one coat and I just placed my image, and once I was done, I just did another coat on Mod Podge. The other thing we're going to do, we're going to be using this adhesive cord sheet, and I just cut two pieces at the side of the wood tray. I decided to cut the pieces to cover the star on the top and the bottom, so it can give this effect that it's a shadow box. So I'm gonna be using this wood glue because I'm not sure if the adhesive that it has the cord sheet is gonna last, so I decided to use this wood glue. You guys can use hot glue if you guys want. If you guys want to see how it looks on the edges of the wood tray, I will link it down below the video because I did another project on the other side of the wood tray. And this is how it looks our project once we're done. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this project? It looks really beautiful, but please let me know, what do you guys think? For the next project, I'm going to be using another wood sign, and here's the item number just in case if you guys need it. If you guys want, you guys can just use the back of this sign to do this project, but I decided to remove that image, and to paint it, I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white. I did one coat and I just let it dry. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to be using another free printable that I found on Google, and I'm just going to be cutting the white part with my scissors so we can place the image on the top. And once I'm done, I'm going to be using this Mod Podge, and I'm just going to do one coat and I'm just going to place my image. Also, I decided to do another coat on Mod Podge on the top so we can seal the image. And once it's completely dry, I decide to distress it a little bit, and for that I'm using the Waverly anti-wax, and I'm just using a small piece of this bad sponge to distress it on the edges, and I'm going to distress it at the way that I want it. Once I was done, I decided to use the Rust-Oleum chalk paint, and I just distressed the image on the top a little bit too. I just use the same brush that I paint the sign. To hang our sign, you guys can use the same piece of jute twine, but I decided to use this plant hanger. Also, on the side of the sign, I just removed the extra piece of paper with the sandpaper because I want the chip lab to look a little bit more, so that's the reason why it seems different, the image, because I did that step. And this is how it looks, our project, once we're done. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this project? It looks really beautiful, but please let me know what do you guys think. For the next project, I'm going to be reusing this beautiful cutting board that I create on my channel, and I will link it down below in my description box, the video, so you guys can see step by step what I did. The only thing that I removed, it was the love letter that it had on the top. The next thing, I'm going to be using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint, and I did one coat and I just let it dry so you guys can see. I just use a little bit of paint because I want the color of the wood crate to show a little bit. In the end, I paint inside of the wood crate because I didn't like how it looks. So once they're completely dry, I use the sandpaper to distress it a little bit more. And here is the part where I show you that I decided to paint inside of the small wood crate. Also, I decided to use this Waverly anti-wax to distress it a little bit on the edges. I think it was missing something, so I'm just using a small piece of this bad sponge and I just distress it the way that I want it. And this is how it looks, our project, once we're done. And to put inside, you guys can put anything. You guys can use these boxwood picks that I got from Walmart. I just want to show you, if you cut a few pieces and put it inside, I think it looks really beautiful. Or if you want to, you guys can put a small pot inside, like this one that I just have on hand, and I just place it inside. What do you guys think about this second option? And this is how it looks, our project, once we're done. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this project? It looks really beautiful, but please let me know what do you guys think. For the next project, we're going to be using one tag that I got from Dollar Tree, and I just removed that image. I'm using this calendar that I got from Dollar Tree as well. I just want to give you another option in case if you guys don't have any pre-printables on hand. So I'm just going to use this image, and I'm just going to be marking the image at the side of that sign. Also, once I was done, I decided to cut this piece from the top. I didn't want the hole that it had on the top to show on my image. So the next thing, I'm going to be using this matte Podge. I just did one coat, and once I was done, I just placed my image. The remaining piece of the calendar, I decided to use it on the top, but if you guys want, you guys can just paint this part on color white. The other thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to do another coat on matte Podge on the top so we can seal everything. So once it's completely dry, I'm going to be using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint, and I just paint that remaining piece so it can blend everything with my image. So I decided to distress that image, and I just distress it at the way that I want it. So to hang our piece of wall decor, I just decide to use a small piece of jute twine and I just tie it very well on the top. And also when I clean my edges of the sign, because sometimes the piece of paper is a little bit bigger, I use a piece of sandpaper and it gives these clean edges that it looks really beautiful. And this is how it looks our project once we're done. It turned out really beautiful, this tag. I love it, but please let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this project? The next thing, we're gonna need one truck that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm gonna remove that piece of the letters and also the image. The other thing that I decided to do, to cut the part on the top of the wood truck, because it was at this place from Easter and it had these beautiful eggs on the top and I didn't like it. To paint it, I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint, and I did one coat and I just let it dry. And also I decided to paint the edges so it can has a finished look. And once we're done, we're gonna create lines. I didn't measure anything, so I just marked my lines twice, and once I was done with my finger, I just traced the lines a little bit. I'm going to use one free printable that I found on Pinterest. I'm going to be using my scissors just to cut the flower and a few letters. And once I was done placing the pieces that I want on the truck, I'm going to be using this Mod Podge to put our image. And I did one coat and I just placed my image. The other thing that I decided to do another coat on Mod Podge so we can seal everything. The next thing, we're going to create the tires of the truck. So I'm just cutting from this jar that I have on hand. You guys can use any circle thing. If you guys are really good at drawing, you guys don't need any template to create it. So to paint the tires, I'm using the Craftwise chalkboard paint, and I'm also using this small brush, and I just did one coat and I just let it dry. Also, I decided to paint the edges of the truck. The other thing that I decided to do, I just used my hot glue to cover the holes that it had in the tires because I didn't like it. I just used a little bit of hot glue, and once I was done, I just used the same paint to cover the hole. And to distress the piece, I'm just using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint, and I just use a little bit of paint to distress it, and I'm using the same brush. If you guys want, you guys can be done with your project here. You guys can just use a small piece of jute twine and just put them on the back with hot glue. Or if you guys want this beautiful piece to stand up, you guys can use a few pieces of the jingle blocks and you can place it this way and use a little bit of hot glue so it can stand up your piece. You can do many things with this beautiful truck, but I decided to do this step. I used one piece of wood that I had on hand. It was already cut. So to paint it, I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint. I did one coat and I just let it dry. And also I'm using this piece of the image that we just had, and I just used a little bit of Mod Podge to put the image. I did one coat, and once I was done, I did another coat on the top. The next thing, I used two pieces of jingle blocks, and I'm using the same paint to paint it. I did one coat and I just let it dry. And also I distressed the letters a little bit with the same paint. And once it was done, I just create these lines, but in the end I didn't like it. So I'm going to show you in a minute what I did. I just placed the two jingle blocks this way so we can place the truck on the top so it can stand up. And to glue it, I'm going to do a combination of wood wood glue and hot glue for a strong hold. I decide to use a little bit of more hot glue to reinforce it, and also I paint the back so it can has a finished look. So here is the part where I show you. I use this stencil and I just place it this way, and I just use the craft-wise chalkboard paint, and I did one coat and I just let it dry. And once it was dry, to distress it a little bit, I just use the same brush with the same paint, Restore chalk paint, and I just use a little bit of paint to distress it. And I just placed a few greeneries right here in the top to display this beautiful truck. This is the other project that it was my favorite from the video that I create today. I just love it. But please let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this project? For the next project, I'm going to be using the other side of the wood sign that we did on the other project, and to paint it, I'm using the Restore chalk paint. I did one coat and I just let it dry. I always do this technique, use a little bit of paint. I just love this stress look that we're going for. So I'm so sorry if you guys always see this way that I paint my sign. So the next thing, I'm going to be using another image of this calendar that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to be cutting the hole on the top because I don't want this hole to show on my sign. So I just place my image and I just flip my wood sign, and I just use my pen to trace it. And once I was done, I just use my scissors to cut it. The next thing, we're going to be using this matte Podge, and I'm going to do one coat and I'm just going to place my image. And once I was done, I decided to do another coat on matte Podge in the top so we can seal everything. And once it's completely dry, I decide to use a small piece of sandpaper so we can clean the edges, because sometimes the image is a little bit bigger, and this is the way that I always clean the edges of the sign. So the other thing that I decide to do, I use the Waverly anti-wax to distress it a little bit, and I just use a small piece of this bad sponge and I just distress it at the way that I want it. So the other thing, if you guys want, you guys can use the same piece of jute twine to hang this beautiful piece of decor in your house, or if you guys want, you guys can use a piece of this plant hanger. And I just use my pliers to open this part, and once I was done, I use again my pliers to tie it very well. And this is how it looks our project once we're done. It turned out really beautiful, this piece, but please let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this project? And please don't forget to see all the videos that all these talented friends that they're participating today. Thank you so much, Johnny and Diane, for hosting this amazing collab. It was an honor for me to be part of this wonderful collaboration today. So that was it for today's video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified every time that I upload new video. And please don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you so much and have an amazing day.